Well, when we went to his house, we pulled up. There was media everywhere. A fire truck was there. So we got out, got the cameras out, started shooting. We didn't really see anybody. There wasn't a huge crowd of neighbors. There was more media. And then as it was kind of unfolding, more people started showing up. But I noticed two guys standing, not next door to Joe's house, but there was a house in between there. So it was one neighbor over. It was an older gentleman and then a guy who was kind of dressed nice, you know. He had a sport coat on, was a little younger. So I walked up to him and said, hey, you know, did you guys, you know, live here in the neighborhood? Did you know this guy? And at the time, I didn't realize I knew him. But the sharp dressed guy, I guess we'll call him that. He said it's morally and ethically morally and ethically objecting to talking to you right now. And I was like, what does that mean? He goes, well, I'm going to ask the questions because I'm not going to answer any. And I said, well, why can't you answer questions? He said, well, if you would have got here earlier, I would have answered some questions. So I took that to mean somebody told him not to talk about Mr. Stack. And then before that, we'd gone to the building that he hid. And why don't you talk about that, Jason, because you actually saw that area a little bit before I did. Yeah, well, actually, when we got there, the police weren't being cooperative at all. I just walked across. We were told by two, regular police officers that as long as we could approach the caution tape, but as long as we didn't go on the other side, we were cool. And immediately, I get swamped by the state police who's standing there telling me, oh, I can't be anywhere around here. I let them know I'm with the media. They don't tell me where the press tent is or anything. Right at that moment, there was a press conference going on. So I take off, walk down some stairs, try to get into the back of the building. And that's when Leffingwell comes out, Acevedo, and that's
the police chief and mayor.
Right. And then also the fire chief.
Basically, ADL employees.
Yeah, we actually split up from where we were. He was going to go around one direction. I was going to go around the other to see who could get the best view. And I got blocked off at one point where they weren't letting anybody walking. So I turned around and went back, and then I caught up with Jason.
All right, but let's go back first. What did his house look like? Who was there? What was going on?
It was I would say it wasn't upper middle class, but it was definitely a middle class type neighborhood. Everybody's got nice lawns, nice 2-story houses, mostly brick.
Was his house burned down?
His house was completely burnt down.
The only thing that's left is really the brick.
And from what I know, I know this guy. He was smart. He was a very smart guy. I didn't really know him to be very political.
Yeah, let's be clear. You knew him. Break it all down.
Yeah. Well, the last house I lived in, I had a neighbor who was a musician, and we played a lot. And I would sub in for his band when his bass player couldn't make it. And Joe Stack was the keyboard player. And I knew Joe fairly well. I knew he was a pilot. And I didn't really put any of this together until I saw the picture. But I remember we were driving around. I'm like, I know a Joe Stack. This can't be the same guy. This is weird, but I know a Joe Stack. That I know him in Pennsylvania. That I just knew I played music with a guy named Joe Stack at some point in my life. And then when I look at the pictures, he's a short guy with glasses and gray hair, and that's him. And I'm kind of amazed because, and I talked to my buddy who ran the band. And I called him up. I said, "Did you hear about Joe?" And he's in Houston. He said, "Yeah, it's crazy." He goes, "Out of all the people in my band, he always had his stuff together. I never knew him to be, he would be the last guy I would think to take a plane." And he had flown in this plane with him. He said he used to fly us down to San Antonio, and he was a software engineer, he recorded music. And so basically his house was, although you could see in the garage, that wasn't totally destroyed, but the upper floor was totally destroyed. There was maybe a few parts of walls left up there. And from what we were gathering, there was a guy who's the neighbor, Elbert, who said he called the cops, or he called 911 at about between 9:15 and 9:30. He wasn't exactly sure, but he said they arrived within 5 minutes, the fire department. I talked to a lady who didn't want to be on camera. The two neighbors directly next door, they weren't answering the doors, but the ones on the other sides, the one guy's name was Elbert, and then there was this other lady who actually left for work at 8:45 in the morning and didn't see a fire. And then she was told, well, apparently it was going on when she left for work. She just didn't notice it.
This is today.
This is today, this morning.
Well, where is this in Austin?
This is north off of Palmer Lane, which is north of where he hit. And apparently he flew out of Georgetown Airport.
So it isn't on fire at 8 when?
8:45.
8:45, he drives to Georgetown during traffic. That's got to take an hour.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then
he hits it.
So 8:45, 9:45, he gets in the plane. I guess he could in 10 minutes fly down south at 9:55 and hit it.
Yeah, yeah. And
if he said it right at 9:45.
Sure. And, well, the neighbor, when he went outside, he saw flames pouring out of the place because they heard this sound. It was the sound that they were alerted to. They heard this weird sound. He walked outside. He saw flames coming out of the windows. Called the fire department.
Because he didn't want to give the IRS the house.
Probably it, yeah.
If he's just a crazy and not an... listen, Operation Northwoods. Everyone should read it. ABC News, Library of Congress, Baltimore Sun, Associated Press, U.S. government plan to terrorize cities as pretext for war with Cuba. They said they would have CIA operatives, and that's the kind of folks they have, the quiet guy, stage their death. They would get on a plane, it would land somewhere else, a similar plane would be remote controlled, and then to be blamed. And we know on 9/11 they brought the hijackers in, they protected them, they gave them visas, they were trained at U.S. military bases, then this happened. So we know it's an inside job, we don't know the details. It's the same thing over and over again. It could be he was a lone nut and did this. But you see this whole buildup and me freaking out around the office saying, they're about to hit, they're about to hit. Am I normally like that, Rob?
No, usually, you know, I mean,
what have I been like?
You're yourself, but
what have I been like lately? I mean, have I been telling you guys?
Oh, yeah, you've been saying it. It's been, yeah, you've been making those predictions. And
on air, but.
Yeah, usually you don't say, you know, I'm predicting this, you know, but when you start doing that, that's when, you know, stuff seems to, you know, happen.
And it's more than just the data. I mean, it is the data, but it's like I start waking up in the middle of the night. I start, when they launch a new, and like Beck, I can't stand to watch him. I just know he's evil. And then I watch and it's pure evil. And I mean, tonight he was saying this is a constitutionalist, the birthers are the #1 enemy, they're terrorists, we've got to get them. I mean, again, if Oberman said that, people would ignore him, but it's Beck who we can trust. He's one of us.
Yeah. The last time I saw Joe was at a show that I actually videotaped for the band. You know, I was did.
You got to get this video in here. We got to get this on the air.
Yeah. I've got close-ups of him playing piano solos.
Tomorrow.
I've got great stuff.
Can you get it on by tomorrow?
I got to look for it because it's in a box somewhere, but I know I can find it. And I'm totally, you know, just he didn't seem like the type of guy that would do that. And you know, just seeing that 20 minutes ago on the computer, I totally freaked out. I'm like, I know this guy.
You were really freaked out when you came in.
Oh, I handed that to you.
Here's the note. In fact, let's get a document cam shot of this note. I knew this guy, and you look like you'd seen a ghost.
It really does, because you know, when you know and you play music with people, you know. I don't know. Musicians are, you know, kind of a weird bunch, I guess, but you don't think, they're usually mellow. And Joe was a very laid back guy. He was, and he kept to him, you know, he wasn't, you know, I'm kind of an outgoing guy. He wasn't like that. He was very, you know, I'm going to get down and play my solo. Here's my solo. You know, he was into Steely Dan and stuff like that. You know, that's what I remember of him being.
All right. Listen, I'm going to be back live 11 a.m. tomorrow. You guys have done a great job today. The whole crew has. I'll be back live tomorrow, 11 a.m. We'll have new developments then. I'm going to do some more work and some more research here, some more witnesses. We got the hotline. People are calling. A lot of great tips, a lot of great info we're tracking down. Great job to Kurt Nimmo, Paul Watson, Steve Watson, Aaron Dykes, the whole crew at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Again, we have a server problem, unable to really update at Infowars.com, so go to PrisonPlanet.com where we have the updates. But in the last few minutes we have before we go to break and go back to the rebroadcast where I was breaking this down, but we're live right now, folks, at 6:24 Central Time, 7:24 Eastern. I guess that'd be 5:24 Mountain, 4:24 Pacific. I want you guys, any other comments you've got about today, any other points you've got?
One more.